Good morning, everybody. Stu Smith here going live. Sorry I'm a few minutes late than I normally am. Had a few things I had to do this morning. But while you guys congregate, I'm going to talk about something that I think you should know. And if you don't, maybe you should listen, right? And this is about what is the best workout for you. All right, so check it out. So I'm just writing this article right now. I came up with a top 10 list of what makes the workout you're doing the best. Okay. And that's loosely defined. Okay. So, the number one thing that makes your workout the best, and this one overrides all of them, is the one that you do consistently. Period. Doesn't matter what you're doing, as long as you're getting some physical activity in and you are doing it consistently, that is really good. I would say that's what you need. That is best. From here on, you can see where it kind of pulls back a little bit from that most important feature, but these are still very important as well. One that is designed for your goals, right? So if you're having a goal, let's say you're trying to be a powerlifting champion, right? But you have a lot of calisthenics and running in it. That doesn't make any sense. Also, for the flip side of that, if you're trying to crush a fitness test and you have a limited amount of time to do it, your workout should be specifically designed to get you towards that fitness test result you seek. And if it looks anything else other than that, it could be delaying your results. All right, so one designed for your goals. Number three, the one that works on both your strengths and weaknesses, especially if you're becoming a tactical athlete, well-rounded um, athlete, well-rounded physically, where you have minimal weaknesses or you've at least addressed your weaknesses to a point where they're not detrimental to you and you're not a liability. You're actually can be an asset. That is key. Number four, the one that works endurance, strength, and flexibility. Yes, there are multiple elements of fitness that you need to work beyond this, but as long as you are working some strength training, building a foundation of strength, this will give you durability, stronger muscles, stronger bones, and just make you more useful, right? Endurance is going to help you with being able to go longer with whatever you're doing, but it's also going to help you address cardiovascular issues. And we typically see those in, um, heart disease, lung disease, circulatory issues. So endurance can help you with that. And then, of course, flexibility, life changing when you add flexibility to your day. I promise you it will be, especially if you're over 40. But even, I sell flexibility and mobility to my 20-year-olds that work out with us as an opportunity to get better at treading and streamlining and things like that. So, number five, the one that helps you with weight maintenance. Most Americans are overweight, period. Right? If you have a program that is helping you with that, addressing the caloric needs that need to be burned in that day so you can actually start losing weight, very important. Now, the other side of that equation is, in fact, it's another number, um, one that integrates nutrition. Obviously, if you're trying to gain weight or lose weight, your nutrition has to also be integrated in there, with smart nutrition choices, portion control if you're trying to lose weight, portion uncontrol if you're trying to gain weight. Sometimes it's hard to eat to gain weight, for most people. Um, the one that fits into your schedule. I know we all have the same 24 hours, but not everybody's day looks like each other's, depending on your responsibilities and your work, your school, your family, your life outside of all of those can take up time, right? How you manage your leisure time with your activity time, you need to figure that out. If your leisure time looks like your activity time, you're on the right track. The one that has exercises that you enjoy. Look, nobody enjoys all the activities that there are to do in a workout program. You need to have some that you really like incorporated into what you do. Otherwise, it is real easy to stop and quit. And I think that's where a lot of people get overwhelmed with starting a program. There's some days that they know they're not going to enjoy, whether that's a leg day, an upper body day, a cardio day, whatever it is. Usually one of those three is like your worst day of the week, right? And if you can make those a little bit better, pushing through it a little bit, next thing you know, you'll see improvements on those weaknesses, probably even quicker than improvements on your strengths. So be patient with it, and I promise you, it'll get better. The one that you call a lifestyle change. This is a classic, because fitness is not a destination. It is not a stopping point. Like I've reached this level and I'm done. That's not how it works. Fitness is a journey, and every end goal that is met becomes a new goal, and you keep moving forward. Doesn't have to be a race. It doesn't have to be anything crazy. It can be a weight loss goal. It can be, I want to bench press 225 for 10, whatever, right? I want to crush this fitness test. Even though I've been out of the military for 20 years, I want to see if I can still do it. I love doing that with folks. I can't tell you how many people that are, you know, older that are trying to hit the, 20-year-old scores for a fitness test. It's a great little assessment tool, and gives you some confidence moving forward. And finally, the one that is personally designed for you. And I will be 100% honest. This workout may not be personally designed for you. It may fit perfectly for you. If it does, you found something nice, but 9 times out of 10, you're going to have to adjust the weight, adjust the reps, adjust the mileage. You don't have a pool, so you're going to have to cross out the swimming section, replace it with something else. So you have to make some of those changes in generic workout programs. Where people screw up all the time, no matter what program they're on, is they just find a program and they start doing it, and they jump from no running at all to 20 miles a week, and then a week later they wonder why they're hurting. That is a program not designed for you, and you need to be smart about how you start programs not designed for you. That's why I answer questions all the time. People send me questions about, hey, I'm starting week 1 of this workout and I don't have a place to run, so I'm going to be on a bike. Well, how do you recommend making that change? It's a great question. Usually the answer is, however many miles you are missing, that's 10 minutes of non-impact cardio you have to replace it with. I do the same thing for swimming. For how many 500 yards you are missing, you got to make up 10 minutes of non-impact cardio if you have the time to do that. So there we go. That is my intro. I appreciate your time. I know there's some people shipping out tomorrow. I want to wish everybody who's shipping out, joining the Navy, and going to go on to do great things, whether that is a Spec Ops world journey or it is something else. Thanks for choosing to serve. You guys give me hope for the future. All right, so got some questions over here on Instagram. Looks like, do you recommend people go into pipelines to get normal MOS first, then apply, or go in with a contract that sends them straight to selection? Well, I will tell you this: there's two branches of service where going into selection right after boot camp or basic training is the preferred method, and that is the Navy and Air Force. Because there's just nothing in the Navy and Air Force that prepares you for that journey. I'm telling you, there isn't. So, um, and it's hard to lateral transfer at times. I mean, you can, it's not impossible. It's just sometimes it depends on your year group and the rate or the MOS that you're in to make that transfer. Are they undermanned? If they're undermanned, they may not move you out of that rate or job or MOS. So it kind of depends. So for the Army and for the Marine Corps, it's a different story because the way that's going to work is you're going to go in, go through their boot camp, which is physically challenging. You're going to go through the advanced training, individual training. You're going to go through infantry school. That could be part of it. You could be, um, going through jump school and then on into, variety of special forces, things like that. Air Force, or sorry, Marine Corps is very similar. Before you make a lateral move into recon or MARSOC. So the answer is it depends on the branch. If you're going Navy, it's easier to get to SEALs training off the street than from the fleet. And if you're going Air Force, same thing. That's why they do all the pre-screening before you even go to boot camp. Trying to do a 1 nautical mile swim every week. I completed them before around 37, 38. Trying to get faster with rocket fins, but recently the workout has been killing my shins and Achilles. Yeah, sometimes that happens. My advice is maybe instead of jumping right into rocket fins, is do some get some smaller fins that are a little more flexible and gently kind of build up to that. I mean, right now you're not at a horrible time. I usually try to get my guys, down to like 32, 33. And then when you do 2 nautical mile swims, at Buds every week, that'll put you at a good pace of 66 to 70, depending on how straight you swim. And you're right there. Oh, you're at an okay spot. I would say you're there under 80 minutes, 75, 80 minutes, which isn't horrible. It's passing, um, especially for first and second phase. But third phase, you need to be at below 35 minutes, I think. No, you're close. 32. Let me see. 75 minutes is the cutoff in third phase. So you just got to swim a little faster. But the good news is most everybody does. They get faster, they get straighter, and someone with big old rocket fins gets easier after you do it for a few months. If you're fairly new to rocket fins or jet fins, just stand by. It takes about 3 to 4 weeks before your ankles quit hurting. How did you prepare for buds specifically during your time? I'd like to see the difference between someone that's currently prepping versus before. It's a good question. I played rugby throughout college as I was also preparing for buds. So I had a couple of years that I knew I wanted to prepare. Um, and I was different. I was a power lifter, didn't make the football team, started playing rugby. That enabled me to build up some endurance. And then I started training like a triathlete with calisthenics. So I was doing rugby, doing bikes, swims, and runs. A third of my cardio was running because I wasn't up to running that much yet. And then doing a lot of calisthenics. So I have an upper body day and a lower body day. Um, and for a good year and a half, I didn't do anything different than that. I mean, I knew I needed muscle stamina and endurance. And I slowly got there to a point where I was competitive. And that is how I prepared. and never once was too worried about the strength side because I was pretty strong going in. I wasn't anywhere near my 1 rep maxes, but I was still strong. So logs and boats, while they weren't fun, and I was very glad to never do them again after Hell Week, um, they never crushed me. They were never something that was so brutal that you know I was quitting. I was more worried about the 4 mile timed run every week than I was any log and boat PT. So that was my gut check every week, was try to get into that. And I got my run down pretty good. I think I got it out like a 26:30 is probably the fastest I ever did it, but I was usually hovering between 27:30 and 28 minutes. And so I wasn't bad, wasn't good either. I mean, I was probably, and I think a couple of times I had to be under 32 and I was like at 30, for one of those days where, pre Hell Week days when you just spent the day before doing a ton of lunges and you're just a little bit slower. So that was my gut check running. Swimming, I was fine. O course, fine. PT's fine. Though I will say, the one thing I realized on that grinder when we're doing flutter kicks is I didn't prepare for wet pants and heavy boots flutter kicks. I mean, I would do flutter kicks with pants and boots, but makes a big difference when they're wet. Yeah, I was able to hit. I remember a few of my runs. I was hitting like 30, 31 for 5 miles. So before Buds, I was able to get that close to that 6 minute mile pace, and then but I never was able to tie it. Now that was running shoes and pavement. When I went out to Buds and had boots and pants on and on the sand, it slowed down a little bit. So somebody just asked, do I remember my 4 mile runs before I shipped out? Yes. I could do sub 26 in running shoes and shorts by the time I got out to Buds with pants and boots on. And remember, those boots sucked back then. These were like jungle boots from Vietnam, that probably weighed at least a pound and a half a piece. They're brutal. So they slowed you down. Nowadays, they're like running boots. I mean, they're light. They're just enough stability, to help you with um, any ankle mobility that you may have, or immobility, um, to protect your ankles from spraining. But they're light enough to go run in. And the bad part, what could you have done to better prepare yourself physically and mentally? Um, I thought I was pretty good prepared, going in. I thought being able to run 30, 31 minute 5 miles, in running shoes and shorts, that would transfer over really well to running boots and pants on sand. And I was probably mistaken there in hindsight. So I would say, if you can, practice running in boots and pants. And if you can find some sand, run in some sand, because then you'll probably get a better acknowledgement of where you actually are, or a better assessment of where you actually are. Because by the time I got there, I was, a 28-minute 4 miler was, I wouldn't say it was a gut check, but it wasn't an easy jog either. It was somewhere in between. All right. Mentally, I was there. I had a construction background right after high school, did wrestling. In the meantime, once you go to boot camp, you'll be demoralized a bit, but you have to focus. Yeah, I would agree. Boot camp's going to suck. any indoctrination into the military is going to suck. And that's unfortunate. I think it could be a lot better. I think it could be created to where you actually learn stuff besides folding laundry and standing at attention all the time. You can actually learn something very useful. I mean, you still need to practice some discipline and work as a group and be a good team player and all that, but I think we could teach something useful. All right, here we go. But you'll learn something useful later, so that's after boot camp. Hey Stu, recommended intake for creatine for HIIT workout, cool down, swim, or after run. I don't know, man. I'm not the guy that's going to recommend how much creatine you need to take because you can't use it for selection anyway. Any spec ops jobs that you're going through, you can't have it. So I don't know that answer, to be honest with you. Do you think we should push through an illness in order to hit all the scheduled workouts for the week? How much should I rest is too much if you are still in suboptimal condition? Okay, two different questions there. If you're sick, it depends on the sickness. If you got a head cold, push through, do what you can. If it slows you down 10, 15%, that's probably pretty normal. If you have a chest cold or a fever, I would not push through. I think that is just going to make you sicker, probably make other people around you sick because you're probably contagious. So, how much rest if you are still in suboptimal condition? I'm not sure what you're asking there, if that's rest in between sets, in between running sets, lifting sets, calisthenic sets. Usually I like to make it more of an active rest and work something else unless we're truly building strength and we just actually rest in between sets for a couple of minutes. How do you decide what your workouts to put folks through during your typical morning workouts? Do you use a specific book of yours? No, I actually create them. I will say this. This one right here, Seasonal Tactical Fitness Spring. It is springtime. I am using that as a basis right now. Oh, by the way, guess what just came in? Boom! Yes, it is here. 90 pages. Not quick, easy read. In fact, I also got it up on audiobook on Amazon, and it's about a 2.5 hour listen to. So here's how I do it. So right now I'm in the spring training cycle. And as you can see, this is a spring training book. This is a fall training book. This is a fall and winter training book. What else we got over here? Oh, yeah, fall and winter. So every season, I will pick a program to kind of use as a template. And then from there, make changes. Like I can tell you right now, even though I started using this as a template, I've made so many changes that I will probably create a new cycle around it. Just adding some new stuff in there, a lot of track workouts, Tabata miles. That's a new one we've been doing. So you run really fast for 20, easy for 10, 20, 10, 20, 10 for a mile. See how quickly you can do it, without stopping. That's a good one. But we have a whole bunch of different workouts that I try. So the ones that you see me posting about on Instagram, to be honest with you, these are my experiments, right? I come up with training ideas and we'll add something new into the cycle. It still fits within the system because we are focused on spring, calisthenics, cardio with a running progression. So our running progresses each week. Our calisthenics numbers progress each week, but the choreography of those exercises into the day's activity is different in some way? That's a good question. But anyway, that's the way my mind works when I'm creating and doing coaching. Okay. Let's see. A couple more questions. I've got some new ones over here on YouTube. Do you ever find your way back out to Coronado? I haven't been out there in a few years. I would like to go back. Um, I'm invited to go back often for buds graduations and retirements. I've been in this long enough that people that I coached a while back ago are retiring. In fact, I have one in May that I may go to, but I'm not sure. I'd like to get out there a little more, but never know. Were your workouts for buds prep hours long to prepare for getting smoked? Oh yeah, multiple. In fact, the way I prepared for buds was I would wake up in the morning before school and I would get my calisthenics and running done. Very seldom, I think a couple of days a week only. The pool was open and available at that time. So a couple of days I would, instead of run, I would swim and do calisthenics. Um, and then after then after school, I would go to rugby practice or whatever sport we were doing when we weren't in rugby season. And then I would stop by the pool or do a quick lift after rugby practice, and then I'd study all night. So that was how my life was, trying to get through college and prepare for buds while playing rugby too. How can I keep up with daily spring workouts? I'm not sure what you're asking. Mine? Or do I post them daily that I do? If you want them, I have a membership site on my webpage, Stu Smith Fitness. If you go through the drop down menu, if you have a phone, or the horizontal navigation, you'll see membership. On those membership things, I think is like $29 a month. Here's what you get. So you're going to get my email each week. It's a newsletter. It's got the articles I wrote that week, the video I made that week. It's got the workout, advanced spec ops workout that we are doing personally that week. And it also has a beginner intermediate level if you're just trying to lose weight. So I got kind of both ends of the spectrum on that newsletter. And then you also have access to about 500 weeks of previous workouts that I've done, because I have all those newsletters saved, and you just click them and you can see what we're doing. You can actually see a year in advance of what we're doing if you want to go through all that. It's a little tedious, but it's there. There's also a course. There's like an 80-minute to and through course. But yes, that's what you get out of it. So there's a lot of content there that's free content. Or I shouldn't say free content. It's just a ton of content that has been created over the last, I think I started 8 years ago. So there's at least 5 years of archived workouts in there. And when I say 5 years, I don't mean like a workout. I mean a week's worth of workouts, 6 days a week of what we're doing. And you can kind of see some are very similar. Some are, you can see the changes if you go from year to year. But yeah, it's a membership site. And you get access to a closed Facebook group as well. That's, be honest with you, it's not that popular, but it's I get on there and post on answer questions, things like that. But most people just email me if they have questions. What do you do about a mental illness after 18 on your record? Doc says I'm in remission, but not completely undiagnosed. Okay. I don't know. Be honest with you. That's I think it's a disqualification, but is it waiverable? I don't know. And that's where you're going to have to find out. Some medical professional in the Navy is going to determine that. So have all your stuff squared away as far as records and recommendations and things like that. And who knows? You might get a waiver. I don't know. Is it better for Ranger School SFAS selection to have 2 or 3 longer 6 mile runs or 5 or 6 3 to 4 mile runs during the week, not counting long run? In both cases, you do a long run. That's a good question. I would probably do a few shorter, faster runs, so learn your 6 minute mile pace a couple days a week and then shift it down a notch, go a little longer and try to maintain a 7 minute mile pace for longer runs, like 5+. And then, of course, rucking. Rucking should be a weekend event that's a little longer. They take a little more time. Putting on some weight and getting out after it for 4 hours is not fun. But you should build yourself up and get used to long rucking. At 23 miles at the end of this week, I shipped June 10th. How much more should my running miles progress? You got time. Just keep progressing 10% each week. Don't go too crazy. But, you're at a time right now where a 10% increase is 2 miles a week till you get to 30, and then it's 3 miles a week. So, your progression is going to be really quick. So do what you can, as long as you're not feeling any. There's 2 things you need to watch for. One, your pace. Make sure you hit some 6 minute miles to maintain your mile and a half. Make sure you hit some 7 minute miles to maintain your 4 miler. Unless you're going Army, then it's a 5 miler or 2 2 milers. They've been changing the fitness test a little bit, in the Ranger pipeline. So you still need to run fast though. Short distance, 2 3 miles at 6 minute mile pace, build up to that, and then 7 minute mile for your longer runs. And then if you want to throw in a long slow distance day, you can, or you can throw in a ruck and let that be your long slow distance aerobic based training. That's fine too. But yeah, just keep progressing. I think you're doing pretty well. You're going to have an opportunity to build up to 35, 40 miles by that time. My advice is this: since you've built up to 23, maybe hover here for a few weeks instead of worrying about progressing, and let's work on speed and your pace. And then once you feel pretty good with your pace, start ramping it up 10% each week. Otherwise, you need to try to build some little plateau in this journey just to kind of, now here's your base and now you're going to start ramping it up. What are some current boots buds students train with? Where can you find them? You can find them online. They're Nike Combat Gen 2s. Yeah. I leave for basic today with an SO contract. Nice. Good luck. How much can I expect to run an NDOC before buds? You can build up some running miles. You're not going to run much at boot camp, so that's what sucks. So you got to squeeze in some extra workouts whenever you can, whether that is jumping jacks, burpees, squats, and lunges, and push-ups and flutter kicks. Do them all. I mean, maybe have a day where you focus on upper body and a day you focus on lower body. And, always work some kind of, sit up, flutter kick, hip flexor. If you get laundry duty, you can find a bar and do pull ups on where they hang all the clothes. So do that. There may even be some, there may even be some opportunities to have a power tower in barracks too. They've been talking about that, and you may even get some swim workouts in now. So that'd be a good thing. El Capitan, it's Will. Hey, Will. Boys are tuned in to the podcast, getting dialed. All right, get it done. Get it done. All right, so here's another question from YouTube. Recently purchased your Marsoc Recon Prep book. Do you recommend stacking 3 days a week of heavy lifting, like push pull legs? No, I don't. If I did, I would say do this. It depends on what you're trying to work on. Do you want to work on those elements that will get you to and through recon prep and recon training? Because if you do, then focus on that. Now, if you want to take a break from the workout and focus on heavy lifting and maybe maintenance of your running and rucking, do that. But don't mix the two together, because I'm telling you, um, if you're trying to improve on one and you're doing both, chances are you're not going to improve on either one. Now, you can maintain both. Like if you go into this, high rep calisthenics, running, swimming workout, rucking workout, it's going to take a lot of time to get those done. So you may not even have a lot of time to do heavy lifting. My advice is this: you got two options. Do a cycle of calisthenics and cardio and just focus on your calisthenics and cardio, muscle stamina and endurance, and then do a lift cycle, 6 weeks. Maintain your some lifts, but mix in some calisthenics and cardio just to kind of help maintain it. Another option is this: do that workout, 3 weeks of the recon prep, hard progression, running, swimming, rucking, calisthenics, then take 1 week and just stop and do your push pull leg lift cycle. That's a good way to what's called block periodization. It's a really good way to ramp up what you're trying to improve with the calisthenics and cardio. Take a little break, a little deload, cut the mileage in half, cut the reps in half, go a little heavier, maintain some strength, might even improve some strength for that week, and then boom, go to week 4, 5, and 6, and then shut it down and do a week of lifting again. So every 4th week, you do a push pull leg cycle. That's another way to do it. In fact, the workouts like this are built in with that block periodization program in it. Like the fall one even says it, right? Fall transition, mix of cows, cardio, weights. This is how we do it in the fall. But it's a deload of running in the fall. In the spring, it's a increase of running, and we peak in the summer. So the whole year looks like a bell curve of the amount of mileage we totally run each week, versus redlining it year after year and then wondering why you're always sick and injured. All right, let's see. Da, da. Yep, I have my headphones on. Do y'all have some strength assessments that you do to determine whether a candidate is strong enough? Yes. In fact, if you Google that question, put my name in it, you'll see an article. In fact, it's called "What is Strong Enough?" Let me see if I can find it. What is strong enough, Stu Smith? Boom. What's good enough in Spec Ops? I think I have two. Yeah, what's good enough strength? Part 2 in Spec Ops. So it's basically all the lifts in here. Yeah, so the article is called What is Good Enough in Spec Ops? Or How Good is Good Enough in Spec Ops? How Good is Good Enough Strength, Part 2 in Spec Ops. So yeah, check those out. It's a laundry list of everything from weighted pull-ups, body weight bench, deadlifts, shuttle runs, long jumps, squats, lunges, even hang clean, and then some other workouts in there too. So, in fact, here's the assessment tool. I combine both of those, and you can check it out here. I'll put a link in the comment section over here. I'll put a link over here for you guys over here on Instagram. Although I know you can't um, click it, you can at least see what it's titled. It's titled Physical Assessment Tools for To and Through Selection. So there's a whole bunch in there. So check it out. Thanks for answering questions. When we do our 2-minute test for push-ups and sit-ups and pull-ups, do you recommend doing that at the beginning of the week or at the end of the week? It's up to you. I mean, I have it scheduled throughout the week, sometimes at the beginning, sometimes the day after a mobility day. But it's kind of up to you where you want to start it. If you want to do it after a Sunday day off, that makes logical sense to me. If you want to see where you are after a day off. But if you did upper body on Saturday, you may not be fully ready for it. So, maybe do a leg day on Saturday and then take a day off and then hit it on Monday. But I mean, I got it written in here. So if you're following a program, follow a program. But if you just want to assess it, do it after a day off or a mobility day. Hoping to maintain my run times. I can run 8:40, mile and a half. That's good. But my push-ups suck. How often should I be running, and what kind of running, hill, sprints, ruckings should I do? My advice is this. I have a little running program. In fact, if you Google running program 20 miles a week, I think it's called Running Program to Help Get You To and Through Selection. And it's only 20 miles a week. And the reason why this is a 20-mile-a-week program is you build up to 20 miles a week, then you work on all your speed. And it's going to keep you at 20 miles a week for a while, but you're focusing on your pace. You're focusing on two different paces, 6-minute mile, 7-minute mile, because you need to know both and you need to be able to build some volume up on that, because that mile and a half is going to turn to a 4-mile timed run. And if you can do it at a just sub 7 pace, you're going to be in good stead with the class. Never have to worry about failing. So check out that article, and it tells you the types of workouts we do. We do hills, sprints, track workouts, rucking, long runs, goal pace runs. So it's a variety in there. Do you ever work with the Rangers, and how was your experience with those folks? No, not professionally, like when I was in, but I know many of them, and love them all. Um, so they are a tough group of people for sure. How should you split your running exercises when it comes to distance and speed? Not sure if I could just focus on speed first, then distance, or the opposite. We mix it all in there. Read that article I just posted up there. To and through selection article. Let me see if I can find it again for you. Yeah, I just posted it up on Instagram. Check it out, and you'll see how I recommend doing it. And it doesn't have to be my way. You can add in a long, slow distance day if you want, just to kind of deload, work on some aerobic base. If you don't want to add those kind of miles in, you can do it with a non-impact cardio. In fact, something I like to do with beginner runners who are trying to progress a certain mileage per week is, cut the mileage for them, but give them all the cardio. And what that means is, for instance, if we're trying to do 3 miles in 20 minutes, right? It's a 20-minute run. I'll add in a 20-minute bike to that, so they get a 40-minute thing of cardio with only 20 minutes of impact. And sometimes, as you're a new runner or a heavier runner, that's a better programming for you, just to avoid typical overuse injuries that tend to show up as feet pain, shin pain, knee pain, tendonitis, works your way all the way up to the hips and the lower back, even for some of you. So that's what you got to be careful for. How do I look at nutrition? Do you recommend eating to get big or just eat clean? Well, it depends. I mean, if you're trying to gain weight, you need to lift big and eat big. But yeah, you need to eat clean. Don't need to eat crap foods, just because you're going to have crap energy if you do. So you eat for energy, but you eat extra calories to gain weight. You eat for energy, but you eat fewer calories to lose weight. And yes, clean is the better option. All right. Looks like I've hit everything. Michael says he's shipping out today. Wanted to say thanks for all your podcasts and workouts you create. Michael, I wish you luck, my friend. We got a big group shipping out of here locally as well that I'm excited for them. I'm excited for all of you. I told them this morning, I said, like, I would do it all over again in a heartbeat. And in fact, I'm a little bit jealous of you guys. So good luck. You already made me proud just by choosing to serve. So get out there and go crush it for you. It's your dreams. Yep. All right, guys. I do need to go. I've been on this for about 45 minutes, a little over. I think I got all the questions. If I missed your questions, please just send me an email, stu@stewsmith.com. You can send it there. Tomorrow I'll be back and we'll do a live Q&A again, maybe show some CSS videos as they come in for critiques. But if you guys haven't yet, check out the new book that just came out, Never Quit Mindset. It is basically 25 years of me coaching and 15 years of me training and working towards goals and getting through them, and pretty much everything I have done and coached about mental toughness, physical toughness, and never quit mindset, all in a 90-page booklet. And I think it's good. I really do. In fact, I even listened to the audiobook on my way to Camp Lejeune last week, and did a little thing out there. And I was like, damn, I'm glad I wrote this thing, because I wrote it. It flowed out of me like a coach just spitting out words, right? So I wanted to make sure it actually made sense, because it made sense in my head as I was getting it out of me. But I just wanted to hear it and get feedback from it. And so far, everybody's feedback has been, this is mandatory reading for my kids, right? So I'm like, all right, that's cool. But yeah, check it out. I'm pretty proud of it. It's working pretty well. All right, guys, I got to go until tomorrow. I'll be back. You guys have a good one.